On today's show,
We finally got our first look at Andor Season 2. Let's discuss our thoughts.
Invincible'S episode 5 and 6. Are they filler or are they actually good?
And join us as we rank the Harry Potter movies.
All that and more on BCFM.
Welcome to BCFM, the Beyond Coruscant podcast. Thanks for joining us. As always, I am Cooper, joined by my co-host Jack, and we've got a fantastic discussion. Fantastic. I dare to say this might be the best podcast that we've done ever.
It could be.
Before we get into this discussion, make sure to like and subscribe. We would greatly appreciate it. Now, Jack.
Yep.
Big breaking news. Andor Season 2. Finally, we got a trailer.
Yeah.
After so long of waiting, we thought we were getting it at the Super Bowl. Nope.
Yeah.
They decided to drop it on a random Wednesday morning or whatever it was here.
Yeah,
But we got it.
Our time.
We finally got it. We can finally discuss our thoughts. And if you want to check out our initial reaction, we'll leave the link in the description to that trailer reaction, or we'll leave a card up on the top of the screen.
Yeah.
Go check it out and then come back here. Jack, overall, what do you think?
Look, I'm going to get into it. I'm going to be blunt. I did not like the music. I get that the music was talking about a revolution. That makes sense for Andor vibe. But the actual like sound and just it wasn't tech, but it was like rocky kind of band rock type. No, that did not fit Andor. That doesn't fit any Star Wars project, and it just felt kind of Guardians of the Galaxy kind of vibe, and that instantly kind of like took me a little bit away from watching what I was seeing. I did like how there was barely any kind of storyline and like plot to the trailer, but at the same time, is that also a burden? Because we know that there's going to be time skips, and we know that there's going to be a lot of kind of mini arcs that kind of jump between the years and kind of jump between different times and different people and all that kind of stuff. A bit more so than what happened in Andor Season 1, where it was more just linear. It had its arcs, but it was very following Andor and how he got to the stages. But in this one could be a bit more building kind of the rebellion more, like about seeing other sides of the rebellion and everything, which could be good. But yeah, with these time skips, it could also lose its kind of grounded and kind of really well-written story kind of way that they did with Andor Season 1. And I don't know, like it didn't really show much in a trailer to get me, I wouldn't say excited, because there was a lot of great shots. Like even the one that sticks out to me the most is the stormtroopers in the field, and like the way that they look and shot in that field looks great. And then the perspective of that interesting looking kind of TIE interceptor-esque thing. I've never seen a ship like that before. What is that?
It's some sort of prototype, I imagine.
Yeah. It looks crazy. I mean, the shots do look great. Characters look great. The scenes look great from the trailer, but I don't know, man. Like, I'm a bit nervous. I'm a little bit. I'm probably more nervous than excited, because Andor's one of those things where it's like, what can they show you? Like, they showed us Krennic. I got excited to see Krennic. We already knew Krennic. Maybe if they didn't announce Krennic was coming in this, then I might have been hyped to see him in the trailer. But I already knew he was coming, and he's not like a Darth Vader where it's like, but he's a very good character. So I can't really be overly excited because it's Andor. It's something that I really want to see, but it's not something I can hype myself seeing a footage over. Like compared to all the stuff we've been seeing with Daredevil lately, as of the time of recording this. Like every time a new thing comes out, I'm like, oh my God, so gush, so good and everything. Yep. But with Andor, I'm like, I just want to see it. I just want to watch it, and I hope it's good kind of thing, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. I think that Andor is a show that you have to watch to really appreciate, whereas the trailer can give you an idea of what's coming, but it can't give you the best moments. We didn't see any of the moments from episode 10 of season 1 in the trailer, or if we did, it was very minimal. And like some of the best moments of like the speeches and the monologues, we didn't get that in the trailer. There was none of that. So that was a nice little surprise. So hopefully season 2 continues the trend. Before I get into my thoughts, I will say very much a lack of Luthen in this trailer. Very much a lack of Dedra Meero in this trailer.
Yep. They both had one shots each.
So interesting. Obviously, it's a teaser trailer, but they were main characters from the first season. So to see them not really getting much attention.
Was it also one shot of Cyril when he's running through those metal detectors?
One shot of Cyril? There were a couple of Bics.
Yeah, a couple
But
of
yeah,
bits.
so
Yeah.
it was more, a lot of Saw Gerrera,
Yeah.
lot of Saw Gerrera in that trailer.
Yeah.
So that's good because I liked his inclusion in season one. Um, as far as what I thought, I liked it, and I think it grows on me more and more every single time. Now, I understand when I first heard the music, I'm like, okay, this is a bit different,
Mm.
but I think if you can get through the first minute of the trailer, the like last 30 seconds
When
is
the
pretty
revolution,
good.
when they say the revolution begins and then the
Yeah,
bomb goes off.
well, even when the lyrics sort of stop and it just becomes like the guitar and the
Yeah.
drums and everything, it sounds a lot better.
Mm.
Um, I don't know. I think it sounds like a Tony Gilroy song. I feel like I could
Yeah.
just see him chilling in his trailer jamming to that song or something.
Mm.
Um, but like you said, barely showed anything. Like we got a
Mm.
lot of the Thai ship
Yeah.
scene, which I imagine is going to be an early arc.
Hmm.
Um, and
Stealing plans or something.
yeah, yep. And then there's obviously the deals going down on Coruscant.
Hmm.
There's the riots going on that planet, and they're obviously going to be hiding some stuff from us as well. We're obviously going to dive into the Imperial side of things as well. So a lot of exciting things that
Mm.
look great, and it looks exactly how I would hope it would.
Mm.
My main thing with the trailer is, and I said this in the reaction,
Mm.
there was all these like reviews across scattered throughout the
Yeah, that
trailer.
was
And I'm like, my way I described it is people who are watching the trailer already know how good the
it's
show is
good.
because they
Yeah.
watched season one. And people who haven't watched season one aren't going to watch the trailer for season two. So really, they're just stating the bloody obvious, which is what
Yeah.
we already know, which is it's a great show.
They
So
deliberately, yeah, they deliberately tried to get those reviews for those people who didn't watch season one to watch the trailer for
but
season
they're not going
two
to watch it.
and then be like, season one was pretty good. Let me go back and watch it.
Yeah.
Why are you watching season two trailer then?
I
Like,
don't know. I don't know. It was random. I don't really understand.
I'm not sure about
But
that one. Yeah.
I think, and I'm just gonna rant for a little bit here.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I've
Go
been
for it.
thinking about this for a long, long time.
Yeah, go for it.
Andor season two is the big ticket item of the last 2, 3 years of Star Wars. I would say the most recent one would have been Mandalorian season three, but that obviously the hype leading up to that season was there, but the
Mm.
quality of it was so let down. Since then, what have we had? We've had Bad Batch season 2 and 3. We've had Tales of the Jedi and Empire. We've had Acolyte and Skeleton Crew. Hit or miss quality wise, but Andor is the big ticket item. This is the show that is proven its quality.
Mm-hmm.
It's proven that it's a great show.
Mm.
And so I don't see any reason why this show isn't like okay, actually no, sorry. It's about the release date. It's about the
Yeah,
release date
yeah.
because we found out that we're getting 3 episode blocks per week. So we're
Yeah.
getting 3 episodes across 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And my mind is season one was proven. Yeah, it did the first arc in the first week. That's fine. Then
Mm-hmm.
you release it weekly after. There's no pressure for this show to come out that quickly. There's nothing slated after this show except for Ahsoka season two, which hasn't even started filming.
Yeah.
Why do they feel like it's necessary to release it so soon? Because it is proven that it's a good show, and the formula worked last time. People liked it.
I think I think to counteract that, I'm actually quite excited for this because my biggest gripe of season one was that the arcs felt like they were drawn out so much longer because you had to wait weekly for just 3 episodes to conclude that mini storyline. So whether this kind of fixes that issue where it's like, oh, because for example, when I watched the prison arc, for example, I liked how it was drawn out because it kind of made it more isolated, feeling like Andor's been trapped there for a long time. But compared to like the very first arc episodes that we first got when they were like building up for the heist thing, they felt very long, right? Like and they were released together. So it's like it can work in both ways, I think, in terms of if you watch them, you know, by arc, one after the other, like they're kind of going to do now with like 3 episodes per week, or watching them weekly. It has its benefits and like its disadvantages for both. But I feel like this one might be able to draw audience, like more general audiences in because they know that they're going to get a mini complete story each time they watch it for weekly rather than having to wait for a mini
Yes.
story to be concluded.
And I think I'd already mentioned to you, this is kind of
Mm.
my concern. If they're releasing it like this, I kind of think the run times are going to be a bit
Mm.
lower or shorter because it
If it's 40, it's fine still, though. If it's
40 is
less than
fine, but
40, I might be a bit more like, can you really
well,
tell?
that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's like obviously they've got a lot to cover in like the time periods that they're jumping through. So if they're doing really short episodes just to are they doing it so they can present the arc as one like
Movie.
episode, one
Yeah.
movie? Yeah. Because if so, like why would
Rewatchability
you go in
wise,
with that
yeah.
mentality? Why would you not make it more than 12 episodes? Like I don't know. I just
Well,
that is the bit that
yeah.
concerns me. So
Well, that means so we're getting it over 4 weeks. So if they're doing it like that style, then technically we're going to get 4 movies. If they're going to do it for like each of them are going to be like roughly combined like an hour and a half each,
well,
which could be good. But in terms of when I mean by rewatchability, if you want to watch a singular episode from one of those 3 episodes in an arc, are you going to tell me that's not going to make any sense, or it's just going to be kind of average because it's meant to be watched like back to back as a whole thing? You know what I mean? Like with the prison arc, even you can watch one of the episodes within that arc, and it's still enjoyable. It still has its own kind of mini plot from start to finish of the episode. Maybe not so much the first arc, but definitely the later ones, even with the at what's it called at Ferrex and
yeah.
everything. Like I think you can watch them individually and enjoy them still. But is this one going to be able to do that, or is it going to be like, oh, you actually have to watch the follow up ones for this to make sense, or for it to actually feel like it's deserving of a good episode?
Well, yeah, and look, we're only going to find out when it
Mm.
releases, and maybe this new formula for episode releases will work. I
Mm.
just obviously as like
Shorter in
content
time.
creators that are covering that show,
Mm.
um, and maybe would have preferred to see the um, I guess not marketability, but the longevity of Andor, because
Hmm.
Andor is can be a marketable show because it can grab audiences. But
Yes.
the fact that they're just rushing it out makes me think that maybe it's got to be a storytelling decision
Yeah. Well.
because there's
Yeah.
no pressure for it to release this early. So
Mm. It's also interesting when you're talking about the big content creators who cover this. As you know, they love to do their watch party reactions and everything. And you noticed a lot. I don't know if you noticed this, but when Andor season one came out, a lot of them like covered the first maybe a couple episodes, but then they realized, oh, it's a bit more of a slower show. There's not going to be like cameos and everything. So maybe is this new way to kind of get them to react to it because they know they're getting an arc per each week rather than doing separate individual episodes that might not grab them that much views. So for people to promote the show online, maybe this is also a way to get more people to promote it too.
possibly, yeah.
Mm.
Look, again, we're only going to find out the decision when the episode's released, which is
Yeah.
April 22nd, which is
Kind of
roughly
soonish.
50 something days away
That's
from
not that
day of
long.
recording.
It'll go fast. It will go fast. It will.
Hopefully. Do
Well,
you,
we got so much stuff coming out for this first half of the year.
we do.
Like
We
Andor,
do.
if it did go for longer, it would compete with, unironically, it would compete with like DC and Marvel with, if they did like one episode a week, that would branch out across like for the, obviously them other ones are movies and stuff. But yeah, you'd be having like 3 major franchises going on simultaneously almost.
Yeah. I've got a question for you real quick.
Mm.
Do you think we're getting another trailer for Andor season 2 before it's released?
Yes. I think we're going to get one, which will be Andor. You know how we got like Saw speaking towards the later half? I reckon we're going to get Andor Soul Focus one where it's going to have him doing a speech from
Okay.
something of the show. And it's going to build up to like, obviously, the Andor title cards, but it's going to like be a bit more, what's it called, cinematic feeling. When this one felt like more of like a, here's a little tease about what you could get, and then that one's going to feel a bit more like, yeah, here we go, the revolution, the rebellion's going to rise again or like begin kind of thing, you know what I mean?
Okay.
I
Yep.
feel like it's going to be a triumphant kind of feeling of a trailer, maybe.
All right.
Mm.
I just wonder when they're going to release it because obviously we're in March now
It would
and
probably
it comes out in April.
It'd probably be like middle to late, because if you think about it, releasing trailers closer to the date might actually give it more hype when you realize, because when people watch a trailer and you see, wow, that's only like 3 weeks away. That's great. You know what I mean? But when you see a trailer sometimes, like, for example, when the Batman, Rowan Pattinson's Batman came out, that trailer came out like almost a year and a half or something like before the movie. Oh, like, this is great. The trailer's amazing. But looking when the release, I'm like, it said like, this is coming in the year. Like, it didn't even have like a date. I'm like, So how long do I have to wait for this?
Yeah.
So it's like sometimes releasing a trailer later on would carry that hype over closer to the date. So it could be a strategical play from them. I don't know. I think this time around, they're definitely trying to be smarter with marketing and how they're going to deliver this season, because they know season 1, when people watched it, they enjoyed it, but it was hard for them to get people to watch it because it didn't have your usual cameos, your usual lightsabers and everything. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it'll be interesting to see how it goes.
It will be. Yeah. But like we've been saying it on the podcast for like, I think the last bloody 3 years we've been doing this. We are so darn excited for this season. It's just Andor means so much to us. We've waited too long for the show, and it's right around the corner.
Almost.
Best believe we'll be covering every single episode when it comes out. Yeah. On other Star Wars news, just really quickly.
Yeah.
Kathy Kennedy.
Yeah.
Leaving.
She's apparently departing.
Which
on
is
her terms.
On her terms, which is interesting. I think there are a lot of people in the Star Wars community who are quite joyous at that news. I think that obviously, while we can look at the failures of Disney Star Wars, there is also it's also important to recognize that we did get some gems in there. We did get Andor, and we did get Rogue One, and we did get Mandalorian.
1 and 2.
So yeah, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2.
Not 3.
No, not three. But and you know, brought back Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker. Like
even if that show wasn't great.
Yeah,
Obi-Wan wise.
Oh yeah, both shows, yeah. But but Jack and I were discussing who we think might take over as CEO. Dave Filoni was a name that was floated. I said it probably wasn't. Like, obviously, it would be an exciting appointment, but I think that in terms of what he's got on his plate at the moment with Mandalorian and Grogu and Ahsoka Season 2, and with the current timing of things, him stepping up into that role and still having to work on these 2 projects while planning for the future just seems like a lot. So I don't think he would step up into that role, but maybe a bit later on.
Well, if Dave did, or even John, I don't think Jon Favreau would, because he's too much of like a director, more of a less like compared to Filoni, who's pretty good at producing and creating stories and you know, creativity wise. But it would remind me of like James Gunn for DC, where you're having like an established person who's made some pretty good stuff within that franchise, then taking the kind of position where they like green light or say no to certain storylines from creatives and stuff. But I think whoever steps into this role, I think what happened with the Kathleen Kennedy situation, I don't think it was entirely hers to blame. I think a lot of the people were giving her projects that just happened to suit her passions of like promoting, what's it called, political opinions and agendas on Star Wars. Like, she didn't create the stories half the time. It was the Disney like executives and the creative writers and everything.
Yes.
So, in that being said, so even let's just say if Filoni takes up the mantle and the writers are still the same, if they give that to Filoni, I just think the difference is he will be like, we've already gone down this road once before. I don't think we should go down this road. He might be finally like cutting on some certain stuff and only let the more creative, unique, Star Wars-esque feeling ones make it through the cut. And I think that's what will be good. And we need someone who can do that, because I feel like you can't just be a yes person and be like, yep, you've come up with an idea. Let's just greenlight that. Let's just throw money at it. And then you've got Obi-Wan, which should have been a movie with one of the most 2 iconic characters in the entire Star Wars universe, gets the lowest budget and probably the worst treatment in terms of like just everything. So it's like, how is that fair? Where is the line? And what is happening? There's too many ups and downs currently with Star Wars, and that's what's killing the fan base and killing the hype around anything. Like, even with the Mandalorian Grogu movie, if you announced this movie after season 2 and this was like season 3 and it was turning into a movie, people would be up in arms being like, this is going to be the greatest thing. But after coming off Mando season 3, you're just like, what? Yeah. So like all these things are not really like as hyped up and stuff as probably they used to be. So it needs to get back on track, and it needs to just put out some more quality content more consistently, I think, is the key word for that one.
Yeah, and we'll find out some of the new projects at Star Wars Celebration, which is also coming up soon. So,
which should be good.
Yeah. Yes, could be exciting. Couple of years for Star Wars. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, indeed.
All right, let's look at Invincible now. Episodes 5 and 6. Do you mind if I start?
Yeah,
This
go for
review? So, episode 5, I was sourly disappointed by. That was a really, really poor episode. It was cool seeing Titan back,
Yep.
because obviously
Machine
we hadn't
Head.
seen him for a while. Machine Head, yeah, I totally forgot he existed, but there we go. But just the whole Mark and Eve storyline, I'm getting so sick and tired of that. Like, oh, let's start a business because we need money. No, don't humanize Mark. Like, I know, I know we're trying to make him like more human and relate to Debbie and stuff. And I know you're gonna say like it's part of the big picture or whatever. But he's a superhero. I want to see him doing superhero things. That's not, oh, defending a prison because it's my job.
Mm,
Episode 6, on the other hand,
mm,
was phenomenal. That
mm,
is one of my favorite episodes that I've seen of the show yet.
mm,
Powerplex, I'd never heard of him before. Loved the origin story. So good.
mm.
So good. That is how you do a villain. That is what Angstrom Levy should have been. And obviously, I know there's a tease of him coming back probably in the next episode. But Powerplex, perfect. Loved his inclusion. Loved his power set. Loved just how he's turning his pain into power in both a physical sense and an emotional sense. And voice acting by Aaron Paul, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Insane. And also, we can touch on a little bit the title card. I'm like, hang on, we didn't get a title card yet. And then it started
Every
popping. I'm
2 seconds.
What's going on? That was great. That was so funny. But loved it. Episode 6 was fantastic.
Yeah, it was very good. Episodes, I'm going to go from 6 to 5. So episode 6, I really loved. In the comics, Powerplex actually had like green lightning, so it made him look visually strikingly a bit more different, which I think was a pretty cool addition, which they didn't really do. Also, they actually had a lot more of a fight in the comics when this one here, Invincible, was kind of just like, chill, bro, I'm not going to hurt you. So, I don't know. So that I was a bit disappointed with that because it's like, as you said, you know, you want him to superhero and stuff. But then when it's the times he should be superheroing, he doesn't really. So it's like, he's too scared because he's so OP, but you're so OP that you could do this in 2 seconds. So why are you doing that and being safe? Take Powerplex up into the sky, punch him once, boom, take him back into prison.
Yeah.
Like that's the issue when it comes to like these OP superheroes like Superman and stuff. It's like things could be resolved so much better. And especially obviously in the comics, sadly the baby and the wife did get charred up like.
Oh, that was insane.
You should search up the comic panel of it.
Oh, really?
Gross. It's gross, yeah. So obviously that had to happen and you want to keep to the storyline, but it's like, dude, would he do that? I don't feel like he would let even like at any time he always tries to save the civilians first. And I know that lady like talks smack and stuff to him when he went to go help her, but I still would have just been like, okay, and then just like take you away kind of thing. Like, you know, that a lot of these things kind of felt like it was forced because it happened in the comics, so it has to happen in this show. But it felt like it didn't need to happen this way in the show. I don't know. It could just be me. Like, I obviously don't want to ruin Powerplex's like main villain turning point, but at the same time, it's like, is Invincible really that silly? I want to like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think he's that. I think he's a lot smarter than what the show sometimes paints him as, and it kind of frustrates me because he just acts like, oh, I'm so powerful. I don't really want to like fight. It's like, what? You got your ass whooped every season, and now you don't want to fight when you're strong.
That's true.
Like,
he kept saying throughout the episode, he's like, oh, there's other superheroes who can do that.
Oh, you know, a super villain terrorizing the city. Oh, the Guardians can get them. Yeah. You can take him out in 1 second. Why are you even like, I feel like he's being a bit selfish in terms of like, now that he's so overpowered, he's just like, yeah, I don't have to do any of this stuff. Unless there's a Viltrumite or something. It's like, but episode 5, yes, I agree it's filler. Yes, it was kind of dry, but I disagree with you on the Mark and Eve. I love their relationship and it only gets better. Yes, the superheroing business thing is quite funny, but also it's actually quite smart. Because if we had powers or something, how would you make money? If you didn't like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm assuming if you worked for the GDA, you would get some sort of money. But if you weren't, how do you make money and revenue after what you do? You hire your services out. I think it's a smart little fun way. And especially when Paul I think it was 6, where he talked about like, oh, how did you and Eve create that business? Also, I love Paul, by the way.
Yeah, Paul's great.
I hope, like Paul was just, he's a funny character and he's good fun, but obviously something's going to have to happen later on with the whole family, of course, with someone escaping prison and stuff. But yeah, this tease at the end, I wasn't expecting it to happen at the end of this one. I was honestly expecting something else, but when I'm surprised they did show. I mean, I think they had to do that because they have to show people that 6 and 7, or no, 7 and 8 are going to be like big ones. Because I feel like people were kind of like itching for like the big reveal. And I want to know your thoughts on this because I already know who they are and why Angstrom's kind of gathered them. But I want to know I want to hear what you say.
Okay, so I initially had the reaction of like, oh my God, what's happening? But then I'm also thinking, why would Invincibles, who equally hate Angstrom Levy, supposedly work for Angstrom Levy? But
it's so funny.
I'm very curious to see what happens because obviously they're going after Mark. Mark is going to fight himself, and probably Eve will be there. Probably some of the Guardians will be there. So I'm curious to see what happens, and it's probably not the direction I thought they would be going in the show at all. I didn't know where they were going with the show. I didn't know where we were going.
Cooper, we're not even done yet. This is going to be the next episode. Episode 8 is going to have something even saucier, I reckon.
Damn. Okay.
So like, it depends though, because season 3 they obviously want to release the seasons quite faster. So what could happen? We're in season 2, right?
Season 3.
No, we're in season 3. Oh my gosh. I mean season 4. So the end of season 3 might actually leave us on a massive cliffhanger. I have a hunch it's either going to be a cliffhanger or it's going to happen what I think is going to happen. But you don't know because in the comics, like the compendiums are so thick. Like we're only like a little bit through the storyline. If we were doing it like realistically, there should be like almost like 6 to 7 seasons of a show. You know what I mean? Of Invincible, but it's like, are they like how much they're going to cut, how much they're going to change? But oh man, I cannot wait for next week with the Invincibles. But
Invincible Army.
You know what's funny? And this is not like a spoiler or anything. I'm gonna be honest with you because you go, why would they want to fight like for Angstrom when they all hate Angstrom? In the comics, it was never really revealed. It's kind of like a weird thing where it's like Angstrom's just like, yep, I've gathered all the Invincibles that killed all my prior versions of myself and my son and everything, but I want to kill the one good Invincible.
Interesting.
So it's like, it's a bit of a weird motive for a villain. It's like, wait, so you're trying to kill the one good Invincible who didn't murder you?
Yeah.
Or like, well, he thought he did, obviously, but like, what? It's like, it's a very, I don't know if they're going to try and change that for the show to make it make a bit more sense because reading it, I was like, how is this a villain motive? Why isn't he trying to kill them? They're the ones that killed all the alternate versions of himself. And then like, poor Angstrom, in the season 2, I think we had of the guy with the cape, Sinister Mark. They all have names too, which is so funny. Oh. But what do you think looks like the coolest version of Invincible?
I'd have to look at the stills again.
Because all of them have different fates and outcomes. It's quite funny.
I don't know, the blue and the yellow suits, I really like the blue and the yellow suits. So one of those ones, because I know there are a couple.
You didn't like the Viltrum mark?
I can't say I remember seeing a Viltrum mark.
He was like in the center at the back.
Oh, okay.
And then he had mustache mark.
Yes, mustache mark. Yeah.
And then you had like the long hair mark. Then you had prisoner mark, which is the bald guy with like the veins popping on his.
Yep. I do remember that one. Yeah.
You've got a lot, but we've seen the cape mark before. Do you remember seeing him in season 2? I think we saw him somewhere. Remember? Yeah, we did see him. You might not remember, but we did see him. We saw him when we were going through like all the different what's it called? Because it was like killing for a minute. I can't remember if it was season 2, but it was when we saw different version of Mark and we're like, what's this Mark? You know what I mean? And we're like, what the hell? Yeah. But we have seen a couple of them. But yeah, it's an interesting idea. And I think, let me just say, there is a war coming. They are coming. So
I'm sure they are.
I'm really excited. I really think that maybe I don't want to say it because I don't want to diss the
No.
animation. No. Animation.
Oh, okay.
I want to say that like I have kind of enjoyed the animation. I'm not as like everyone else, but I do think have they saved on animation for this upcoming two? Maybe I don't want to say it, and then it's like just the most like generic looking fight scenes ever. But I want to say that maybe they've saved their budget a little bit for these last two episodes of the season because there's going to be a lot they're going to have to animate. So let's see how it goes.
Yes,
I can't wait.
Well, it's coming to an end pretty good. Are they releasing the last two episodes together or?
I don't think so.
Okay, that's a shame.
So, well, when we do our breakdown, if it is like that, then we'll have the perfect finale, well, penultimate and finale together to talk about, which will be enjoyable. So that'll be good.
We'll be good. Okay. Now, our first time discussing Harry Potter on the podcast. Now, just a little context, I suppose. I've only been following Harry Potter for 2 years, but I love it to death. It's fantastic. Jack, you've had it in your life for a bit longer. Maybe not as much of a...
You definitely prefer it more than me.
Yeah.
But I have watched them when I was a kid.
Yeah. So these rankings are, I guess, a current reflection of our thoughts. I will say I'm currently in the middle of a rewatch. So
again,
this will be
how many times do you rewatch, Cooper?
This is my fifth rewatch.
Oh, jeez, you love them.
So I do love them. So So I think, Jack, do you want to start with your list?
I don't want to do yours first, low key.
Okay. All right, that's fine.
Because I think the reason why I want to start yours is because people who don't know, watching and listening to this, we have very different Harry Potter opinions, probably more so than Star Wars.
Oh,
but Cooper loves Harry Potter a lot, and he's definitely going to be a bit more nitpicky with some of the things. So I want to see what he's ranked him as.
I'll say before I begin, we want to hear what your rankings are in the comments. So please leave them down below.
Yeah.
Obviously, everyone's got their own opinions. I'll also say all of the films are great. I like them all. So just because one film's going to be bottom doesn't mean that it's bad. It just means it's not my
Defending his actions.
So at the bottom, I put all of the Fantastic Beasts films because I don't have all of them.
Even the first one.
I can't pick a favorite between them. I like them all equally. I know that's the cheap way of putting it, but I can't pick favorite. They're all literally the same to me. They're all the same. So yeah, they're all bottom.
Right, interesting.
Then, as much as I loved this film when I first watched it, it's just after you read the book comparison, this film just does not compare. It does not stack up next to it.
Don't put it down.
Goblet of Fire.
Don't do it.
The concept's great, and I loved it when I first watched it, and the reveal of Voldemort at the end was perfect, but just the amount of stuff this movie skips out on in comparison to the book. This book here is so good. It is the best book of the series.
Yeah.
And they literally they took half of it and ripped it out. And
the movie would go for so long. Like, you have to understand that you can't, back in there, you would never do like a 3-hour movie for like...
I know.
That's crazy work, you know?
I feel a little bit sad when I think about the movie and watch the movie and then think, oh, what it could have been. Been. Anyway, that's, I guess, my last, like...
Of the main Harry Potter.
Yeah, last of the main Harry Potter ones. Then I'm moving up to Philosopher's Stone. Again, I don't hate it. It's just lower because my main issue is the acting. The child acting. You can only get so good with child actors, and I don't know. The introduction to Hogwarts was great. I loved it. It followed the book pretty much to a T, so it was fantastic. But just the acting and I don't know, some of the effects weren't great. So putting it there. It's the troll. Then moving up one, Chamber of Secrets. This originally was one of my favorites and top my list.
This is killing me right now.
Again, it's to do with the acting. It was much better. The effects were much better. But I just think maybe the story for me wasn't as enjoyable or coherent. Really? It was really just a mystery. I mean, I guess all of the ones are mysteries, but I don't know. I just didn't resonate with this one as much.
Okay. Mm.
This one's probably going to be an unpopular opinion because I know the reputation of this movie amongst all Potterheads, but I'm going Order of the Phoenix. Now, considering you have to condense an 800-page book into a 2.5 hour movie, I think the fact that they did it is very impressive, and they nailed pretty much all of what needed to be in that film.
Mm.
I just think it lacks some sort of substance. I think that Harry is very unlikable as a protagonist in
Oh,
this
he
in this
sucks
film.
in that one.
He's
No offense.
very angry all the time, and I
Mm.
understand that's the point. You want to show
Mm.
him that he's like Voldemort, and he's
And
trying
he's
to
maturing a little bit. He's
he's
getting older.
maturing. He is. So I don't know. I've never really resonated. This was my least favorite when I first watched the
Yeah,
movies,
yeah,
and
that's
it's
fair.
kind of never really stuck with me, I suppose. But I
Mm.
know people really love this film. I don't dislike it. Again, it's in the middle of my list for a reason. So yeah, Order of the Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm going Deathly Hallows Part 1. On any day that I'm feeling like a really sad sort of movie, this might be my number one because the emotional stakes of this movie. This is the first time the world is against our main heroes. Their friendship is tested. They go against so many trials and tribulations, and just they're pushed to the limits. And I don't know, as much as it's not more magical,
Cooper, you're
I
making
don't
this movie
know.
sound like actually good. The way you described that, I would love to watch. Sadly,
Yeah,
it
but
didn't. And like,
look again, and this is the issue with Deathly Hallows. You have to do it in two parts because there's no way you can do the events of the Deathly Hallows
no,
in one
you could
movie.
have just made it slightly more interesting the first part, in my opinion.
Maybe, but I think that
Horcruxes.
I okay. I think it makes it more grounded. It makes it more. It puts us. It puts the magical world in our world more, and it makes it feel more real. So I appreciate part one, and the music is fantastic. I think it's probably one of the best pieces of soundtracks
Okay.
of the whole bunch. Then just slightly above it is Deathly Hallows Part Two.
Mm.
They did a really good job. I think part two was probably just slightly better because it hit the emotional moments a bit more,
Slightly.
slightly. The whole Battle of Hogwarts was done really well,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know, just uh, every time we get to the end, I'm crying because
Mm.
it's the end. It's the end of an era. So, Deathly Hallows Part Two. Moving up to number two, Half-Blood Prince. Uh,
Mm.
on one day or another, it could be my favorite,
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
I'll get to number one in a minute. I know people don't like Half-Blood Prince because they completely skip out on the Voldemort storyline, and that's fair
Yeah.
enough. That is a very interesting part of the
Mhm.
Half-Blood Prince book. But what I like about Half-Blood Prince is it gives us a time to breathe. We've
Mm.
had back to back to back, just I guess assaults on the senses with
Mm.
what Harry's gone through, and being able to focus on kind of the social aspect of Harry's time at
Nice.
Hogwarts
Mm.
and the relationships, and I guess just the more
I think Draco's pretty good in that too.
Draco is pretty good, and I think that is more of a lesser mystery because you kind of
Mm.
know what's happening, but
Yeah.
it's still intriguing throughout. So I don't know.
Mm.
I've always liked Half-Blood Prince. It's a
Mm.
great movie, and the cinematography is the absolute best in
And the
this movie. It's the
reveal at the
best in the
end.
series. The reveal is great. I still remember gasping when
Mm.
I saw that. I'm like, oh, Snape, really?
Mm.
Snape's the
He's
Half-Blood
dope
Prince.
though.
That was insane. That was insane.
Mm.
And then number one, maybe it's a bit of recency bias because I just watched it a couple days ago, but Prisoner of Azkaban.
Great.
It's so good. It's
Yeah, it's
so
great.
good.
Yep.
We're past the point where it's kid acting. It's proper acting now. The
Mm.
vibe, the tone, it's dark. The only thing I don't really like about the movie is the way it kind of cuts between the seasons. It fades to black quite a
Mm.
bit. But the whole aspect of time being insane, like major part of it, it pretty much follows the book to a T.
Hmm.
Yeah, I had such a good time with Prisoner of Azkaban.
The
Yes,
vibe.
people will nitpick. I've seen people nitpick. Oh, Harry used magic right at the start of the movie,
Mm.
casting Lumos.
Mm.
Yeah, just it's a movie. It's
You
a
have to just accept
movie.
it sometimes. Yeah.
Sometimes you have to accept it. Not everything's gonna be
Being a Star Wars
perfect.
fan makes you realize it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But look, Prisoner of Azkaban is my number one at the moment. This list will change over time.
Yeah.
I would love to do a book ranking because the books is
Are so different.
so much different to the movies. So much different. But Jack, I'm very curious to hear how your ranking is.
Alrighty, this is gonna be toxic. No, I'm kidding. So at number 11, I have Secrets of Dumbledore because I told Cooper this. I haven't actually watched Secrets of Dumbledore. So the reason why is because my second last one, Crimes of Grindelwald. So the reason why I didn't watch the last one of the Fantastic Beasts is because I actually hated that movie. I almost fell asleep in the cinemas watching that. It was that boring, in my opinion. So, yeah, nothing to say really about those two. I will touch on, obviously, the first Fantastic Beasts later, but I haven't done a Cooper and just whacked them all at the bottom.
Hey.
So, third last one on the list. Number, 9, I think? Yep.
Yeah.
First of the Harry Potter films, we have Deathly Hallows Part 1. It is god awful. I do not enjoy watching 3 people sit around in a tent being whingy and whining about. I have never enjoyed the first part of it. And also, I've watched so many videos of people breaking down the Horcruxes and trying to make it make sense. It is so ridiculous. Some of the things and the loopholes and the weird plot holes in it just makes no sense. I cannot ever get attached to it. I do care about the main characters, but I think the main characters are far better in the other ones and actually more resonating and enjoyable. The vibe is kind of there. I don't mind like the running away. But when Cooper described this film on his ranking, he actually made it sound like it was going to be a good film. If someone described Harry Potter Deathly Hallows Part 1 the way Cooper did, I'd be like, I'm going in for a good movie here. It's not really shot the same and not really done the way that I would enjoy a Harry Potter film. Why would I watch a boring snooze fest of absolutely nothing, just basically unironically garbage Horcrux bloody explanations that never actually make any sense? Book-wise, works a lot better. Movie-wise, no. And I agree with Cooper, you have to split into 2 parts. Sadly, the first part is just a snooze fest, in my opinion. All right. Next up, second last one of the Harry Potter films, we have Philosopher's Stone. So similarly to Cooper, child actors, it's hit or miss. I didn't really like. So when you mentioned Chamber of Secrets didn't have like a great like mystery or plot for you, I thought Philosopher's Stone had absolutely nothing aside from going to Hogwarts for the first. Like that was literally the main thing to take away from that is they go to Hogwarts. Like fun, it's iconic, it's nostalgic because of when they enter, it looks beautiful. It's probably the best looking Hogwarts has ever looked like in the films because obviously, who was the director again?
It was Chris Columbus.
Chris Columbus. Yeah, he does very good kind of scene, kind of what's it called, like establishing shots and stuff like that. So yeah, good. Just didn't really have much substance, and the acting wasn't obviously great. Next up, I have Goblet of Fire. So this one was a bit sad for me to put this low because unlike Cooper, yes, it doesn't follow the book. Yes, people complain about it. I actually think it's really fun. It's so far down on my list, but it's one of the ones that I like to rewatch a lot because of just having a fun Olympic kind of, feel to it. And obviously the ending, and I love Robert Pattinson too. So, that's always sad with that storyline. And I always find it really, harrowing, I guess you could say, that they would literally go to kill kids doing such a school. It's crazy. Like when I was a kid watching it, I was like,
that's the first time someone died in the Harry Potter movies.
I was like watching and I'm like, is this a kid's movie?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, it did a really good job. Yes, obviously he doesn't, he says it quietly, but shouts in the memed upon line with Dumbledore.
Did you
put
your name in a goblet of fire?
So it's like, yes, okay. It has, okay. Before I go on, Harry Potter films, in my opinion, and this is gonna cop me some hate. It's basically Star Wars just done worse, in my opinion. So, like, people are gonna diss me for that. So every time I talk about Harry Potter, I look at it like it's a love child of Star Wars. It's fun. It's got magic, but it's also like Star Wars, where half the stuff does not make any sense, and they try to like revert it, or they try to like add stuff to it to make the previous thing and it's just, it gets too convoluted for a story that shouldn't be that convoluted, if that makes sense. Next up, I have Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. So it's sad that I had to put this ahead of Goblet of Fire. I really, really love the aesthetic and the vibe of this first Fantastic Beast. I thought it was setting up for a really cool trilogy. I didn't like at first watching it and not seeing like your main characters, obviously part of a Harry Potter film because it's a prequel. But I did thoroughly enjoy that kind of adventure-esque, and it had a lot more. I don't want to say mystery, but it had a lot more. What's the word? Like it felt more creative. Like it was very like it made the world a lot bigger, in my opinion. And it made it feel like, you know how you talk about realism with Deathly Hallows Part 1 and stuff? That felt more realistic for what you would see. Oh, I hit the mic. What you would see wizards being in, like, the real world, in my opinion.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, and it was cool for the first time, obviously, with that series not really having to focus on Hogwarts and stuff, which I thought was a pretty cool looking thing. All right. Next up, I think this is quite similar to your one, Cooper, actually. Order of the Phoenix. Kind of in the middle. I think you put it where Fantastic Beast was. But yeah, Order of the Phoenix. Okay, so this is when I first started to realize Harry Potter may not be all it. Because when I watched this film, I'm like, what the hell is this? I was like, yeah. When I first watched this, I'm like, this is absolutely boring. And then little did I know, Deathly Hallows Part 1 was to come soon. So perhaps I treated you too harshly. So yeah, Order of the Phoenix. Damn. Yeah, so I'm very critical when it comes to Harry Potter because I did watch them when I was younger when they came out, and when they came out, imagine watching Order of the Phoenix as a kid when they came out. Like, what? It's about like politics almost. It's like it's all about like the Ministry of Magic and everything. It's like I'm watching this like, where's the cool stuff? Where's the fun stuff? You know, as a kid, I was like complaining. So I think it's a good movie, and I think it's quite it's a bit more. It begins a darker kind of tone, and I think that's why I like it a little bit. But yeah, I can't just get over the first watch of it when I was a kid going like, this is hot garbage. You know, little Jack just absolutely whinging about Order of the Phoenix. So next up, I have now this one. So from now on, so these next four literally can interchange at any point in time. This is quite similar to yours aside from this one here, because obviously most of mine are around there, apart from Chamber of the Secrets. So that's next up. So the reason why I like Chamber of the Secrets is, one, it traumatized me as a kid with the spiders. So that has to be stuck with me forever because I hate spiders, and that's probably one of the reasons why I do. And I loved the flying car. I loved the tree. I loved the forest. I love the music. I love the backstory. And I just love how they made the Chamber of Secrets feel like it was opening like some sort of like crazy, it just had that for me. Like, it made me feel like I was almost in the movie with them. Out of all the films, that made me feel like I was the one that I could have actually been uncovering it with them. And I was like crapping my pants and everything too, like with the spiders. I was like Ron Weasley basically in that film. I was basically Ron. So yeah, I think, yes, the acting isn't great, but if they were a bit older, it wouldn't have that same charm, in my opinion. Like, imagine seeing an older Ron being scared of the spiders. You'd be like, buddy. Yeah. What are you doing, buddy? You know? Anyway, and then top three. So all these four could basically interchange depending on how I feel. If I want to watch more of like a less serious, more adventure, that's why Chamber is there. But next up, I have Half-Blood Prince. And number three, yeah, so these three here are practically the same as Cooper's, I reckon, basically. Half-Blood Prince was the first time watching a Harry Potter film and I'm like, wow, this could actually be a bit more like... Because it's before this, like, what's it called? Like the Deathly Hallows and everything. It just feels more serious. It feels like there are stakes at line whilst also keeping to a college kind of school feeling, which I don't think we had, as you were saying, for ages. Like, and that's why I do like the Goblet of Fire too. And that's why it's sad to put it so far down. Like, I feel like a lot of the Harry Potter films are at their best when it feels like they're at a school still, kind of thing, and they are a part of this grand world, but they're isolated within where they are. And that's probably why I don't like Deathly Hallows Part 1, because Deathly Hallows Part 1 to me is just, it feels like an outlier to the other films. And that's probably why you like it too, because you said it makes it feel more, it doesn't feel like Harry Potter to me. It just feels like a fan film explaining like a middle ground of something, because there's not much that happens. It's a lot of talking, it's a lot of dialogue, it's a lot of scene setting. So it feels like it's anyone could have made it. You know what I mean? When the other ones have a lot more like I don't want to say CGI, but like it had a lot more set pieces and a bit more grandiose magic kind of showcases and everything, which I like Harry Potter for. That's what differs it from Star Wars to me, is the magic aspect. So I want to see more of that. But yeah, Half-Blood Prince, I love the reveal. I loved Harry in this film. Actually, I think it was probably one of my favorite interpretations of Harry. Actually, in the films. Next up, we have Deathly Hallows Part 2. What can I say about it? And obviously, before I go talk about it, obviously leads to number one being Prisoner of Azkaban. But yeah, Deathly Hallows Part 2. The ending alone with the whole from the Battle of Hogwarts to the end is just peak Harry Potter, and it's sad that it hit peak when it's at its end. But I guess most franchises, when you have an end, you want it to be good, and Harry Potter did do that. Maybe not with Part 1, but it did with Part 2. And I just absolutely love Neville Longbottom's kind of character redemption, not redemption, but like, you know, his little fun
his
triumphant, yeah, kind of actions from him. I loved how everyone stood up to what's it called, Voldemort. Afterwards. And I did like at first how too it was so haunting just seeing like Harry be dead. And like, yeah, it was very, very scary as a kid. I was like, oh my God, how am I watching this? I'm a kid, you know what I mean? Like, I think I wanted to go watch it in the cinemas, but my parents didn't let me because they're like, it's going to be too violent. And I was like, it's only M-rated, but anyway. So that could have been something cool. I could have actually watched a Harry Potter film in the movies because, yeah, that was the last one. And it was the one where I probably was old enough to actually go to the movies and watch it, where the other ones I would have been too young. But yeah, but great movie. The tone is great. The seriousness is there. Harry is definitely at his best in this one. I love how he's dirty, muddy, a bit more weathered. I like how he doesn't look too pristine and he doesn't look so posh, I guess you could say. And Prisoner of Azkaban being number one. Now, this is when I was watching this first time ever, I was like, wow, this is a lot different from the first two. So I was like, wow, this is fun. And when I watched this film, I was like, what is Azkaban? I need more of it. I love it so much. I love the start of Prisoner of Azkaban. I love the wolves. I love the vibe. And I cannot for the life of me remember the director's name, but everything he touches is great. I love him.
Alfonso Cuarón.
And he did Children of Men, and he's just a great director. And I heard that, yeah, he wasn't like, you know how you said it was faithful to the book. He did a lot of different things himself, and apparently, like, the executives basically told him you have to kind of stay to the book because he goes, I didn't really want to, like, do what I want to do my own thing, and he's very like that. But you can see kind of those nuances. And out of all the films, this one almost, aside from Deathly Hallows Part 1, but in a different way when I'm going to explain it, Prisoner of Azkaban feels like the most outlier to the others because it has such a different vibe, directing, acting, tone, characters. It felt very different, which is good. But also when you're watching it like as a marathon, it feels weird a little bit. But I love Prisoner of Azkaban. It did scare me to death also too when I was a kid, seeing the transformation and just what was the guy? Not what was it was a creepy. No.
Gary Oldman's character. Oh my God, I can't remember his name. What the heck? Sirius Black.
Yeah. He was scary to me. I don't know what it was. He just gave me those vibes. But also at the same time, he gave me like comforting vibes, if that makes sense. Yeah. So like watching it was just a blast of emotions and feelings. And I think it was my first time I properly thought Harry Potter could go in a very like cinematic direction because he's a very good director. And I think if Harry Potter got directors like him for the rest of them, it would be top tier. I just think half the time like these Harry Potter films feel a bit too cheesy at times, or just a bit too like weird. Like it doesn't feel like the vibes of the early days, which I loved. So yeah, great film. And these top four are great films. And I do like the franchise as a whole. I do think that doing those prequels probably wasn't best for it because people like mystery. You know what I mean? Like people obviously want to know more about Dumbledore as a kid, but I think it's like similar to bringing it back to Star Wars, like Yoda. Do we really want a prequel explaining Yoda's origins and stuff? I don't know if I would. It's good that it's a mystery, and I think some things have to stay like that. And I think those three movies kind of took away from that a bit. Because imagine watching them and then going into the Harry Potter films. I don't know what Secrets of Dumbledore is. I know apparently it wasn't as bad as Crimes of Grindelwald, but I'll be the judge of that when I eventually get around to watching it without wanting to turn it off instantly. But yeah, I do wish. So would you like? Here's a question to end off the ranking. Would you like to see an adaptation of some sort of The Cursed Child? Because I know you went to watch it, didn't you?
Yeah, I've seen it twice. Cursed Child was great. Story's a bit hit or miss, but
do you think they could adapt it to movie well?
They could. I think the only way they'd be able to do that, though, unfortunately, is oh, I mean, I guess they could do it now. The actors are old enough to start playing. Yeah, they could. They could. I don't think it'll happen, but they could.
I think. See, the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because I think it's like one of those things where it's like, I know she only did the Cursed Child, did she? J.K. Rowling afterwards.
Yeah, 2016, I think it was.
Yeah. So what I reckon is that the way that if the Harry Potter wants to keep going or franchise wants to keep making movies, you have to keep the main characters in it. You know what I mean? Like you have to do them with it. And I think this way would be good. And I can't tell you how Cursed Child ends because I haven't actually watched it or even know about it. So this could be completely wrong. So you could correct me from this. Could they make another thing after that, not based off a book though, and continue the storyline after what happens from the Cursed Child?
Yeah. Yep.
Why would they not consider this option? It could be something that they could creatively do on their own terms and make it a very fun adventure that feels true to the franchise, almost more so than the Fantastic Beasts series.
Cursed Child isn't really about Harry.
It's not about Harry. It's about his kid, and yeah. But that's what I'm trying to say, though. Like, could you continue it with them and make a new?
Yeah, you could. You could.
And like, so you don't have to call it like. Harry Potter movies don't really have like a number to it. Well, they do on the front covers of like DVDs and stuff. But you could continue it, but with a different kind of storyline and a different premise. But it's still set in the Harry Potter world, and you can connect with the characters better because they're the descendants of your main protagonist rather than just a British guy. You know what I mean? I don't know. Could be a fun thing to do. I think why not? Why not try something different?
It's such a huge IP. They need to make stuff.
Like, try something. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. How many times has Star Wars tried things and it's just never worked? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Give it a shot. And I think it might get a lot of new fans and it might bring a lot of old ones back too. You never know. I think, yeah, because the game, obviously some of the games have been coming out have been good, but you can't just rely on like random, books, comics or games to like carry the franchise on forever. I think it'd be cool to get some continuation and a bit more creativity from it because now that there's no source material for it afterwards. Yeah. So, yeah.
That's it. Yeah. All right. Well, that was interesting to say the least. Remember to leave your rankings down in the comments below. We're 100%. Very curious to hear it. But yeah, I think that's going to do us for this week. Great discussion as we foreshadowed at the start.
It was great.
And yeah, we'll catch you next week.
See you guys.
See ya.